killed us.
When I first watched The Hunt for Red, October 1990, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. I still vividly remember the moment when Sean Connery, with his deep and mysterious voice, portrayed Captain Marco Ramius, or the scene where Jack Ryan nervously analysed sonar data with the echoing ping, making my heart race. The underwater scenes were shot beautifully, the atmosphere was intensely tense, and the political backdrop was chillingly real. But the more I watched, the more I noticed the quirky production details that I had initially overlooked. Did you know that a fictional detail like the Caterpillar drive made the US Navy review its real sonar system? Or that the scene where Sean Connery kills a political official once requested by Paramount to be cut because it was considered too brutal? And what is the truth behind the agreement between the filmmakers and the US Navy that led to the film being closely censored by the CIA? Today, we will reopen the darkest and most unknown behind-the-scenes doors of The Hunt for Red October 20, the political officer's murder scene that almost got cut. That day, sitting in the dimly lit theatre watching Ramius approach Putin from behind, suddenly grab him by the neck, slam him backward and strangle him. The entire scene was devoid of screams, only the sounds of heavy breathing and impact. Ramius's face, illuminated by the yellow light from the ceiling, revealed a chilling coldness. This segment made my heart race faster than usual because it happened so suddenly, making one feel the pressure and cold-bloodedness of Ramius, a character who had been calm throughout the film until then. I didn't understand why the director chose this moment to create such a sudden death. It turns out Paramount was once afraid that the scene was too cold, too cruel. A behind-the-scenes advisor recalled, "This scene is too sudden. The audience will think Ramius is the villain, not the idealistic defector." They suggested cutting it or softening it, adding dialogue or remorseful expressions. But John McTiernan insisted on keeping it as is. He said, "If we cut it, we lose the essence of this gamble. No mercy, no regret. This is real death, not a typical action movie." As a result, the scene remained unchanged. Many viewers from that time still remember the chilling feeling when Ramius whispered Loginov, "We have a problem." It was that deadly silence that turned Ramius from a calm captain into a symbol of life or death decisions. A small detail, but deeply etched into the memory of those who saw the film in theatres in 1990. 19. The Caterpillar drive system doesn't exist, but it scared the US Navy. It's hard to believe that a fictional film could cause such fear within the US Navy. When I first watched The Hunt for Red October, I still remember the scene where the submarine Red October silently glided without a sound. The Caterpillar drive was depicted like some kind of magic at the bottom of the sea, so quiet that the US sonar couldn't detect it. At that time, I thought it was just a science fiction detail to add drama like the inventions in Tom Clancy's novels. But after the film was released in 1990, things didn't stop at the screen. Some US senators contacted the CIA asking seriously, "Why do the Russians have this technology before us? Have they really developed a magneto-hydrodynamic drive?" A sonar engineer who had worked for the Navy recalled, "We had to go over the entire listening system again, checking for any vulnerabilities the Soviets could exploit." The film really made people panic. In reality, the Caterpillar drive is entirely fictional, inspired by public research on hydrodynamic propulsion, something both the US and the Soviets experimented with but never perfected. Clancy just synthesized open-source material and no military secrets were revealed. However, it was the persuasive imagery and sound in the film that made the military recheck reality. 18. The secret agreement between Hollywood and the US Navy. Few people know that back then, to capture the truly haunting submarine scenes, the filmmakers signed a non-disclosure agreement with the US Navy, a silent exchange almost top secret. The US Navy agreed to allow the filmmakers to board the USS Salt Lake City, observe real drills, take notes on how sailors moved in tight spaces, learn the tone of commands, and feel the tilt of the floor when the ship submerged. A military advisor was sent to closely monitor each technical line of dialogue. Scott Glenn once recalled, "They checked every word. If I got the sonar procedure wrong or misreported the situation, they asked me to correct it right on the spot." In return, the script had to blur or change some sensitive details from Clancy's novel sonar terms, evasive tactics, even how the system operated. All had to be adjusted to avoid aligning with real military practices. A Navy officer involved recalled it was both art and soft propaganda. "We showed them a powerful US submarine while ensuring no one would know what was really happening beneath the sea." It all started with Tom Clancy's debut novel in 1984, when he was just a regular insurance salesman, and the book sold over 4 million copies in just a few years. The CIA and the Navy were once concerned about leaks of secrets, but it turned out all the details came from public sources. It was this quiet agreement that brought an unprecedented level of realism, making audiences in 1920 feel as though they were at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean with Ramius and Jack Ryan. 17. Released. Just as the Soviet Union collapsed, the film banned forever. In March 1990, The Hunt for Red October was released, but just a few months earlier the Berlin Wall fell, in November 1989. The Cold War was crumbling piece by piece. The Soviet Union was in turmoil. Gorbachev was pushing for reforms, but the fear of nuclear war and the image of the Red Enemy still haunted Western audiences. The film felt like the final whisper of that era, timely and unexpectedly symbolic. A Russian audience member who grew up during that time recalled the film was immediately banned from official release. The Soviet press called it crude anti-Soviet propaganda, distorting the image of the heroic Navy. But pirated copies spread all over Moscow on hand-copied VHS tapes shown in hidden apartments. Many people secretly admired Ramius. He dared to choose conscience over blind loyalty to the party. When the Soviet Union officially collapsed at the end of 1991, the film quickly became a historical relic. From the threat of becoming outdated in just a few years, it suddenly became a living document of the nuclear fear at the end of the 20th century. The film was no longer just entertainment, it became a silent witness to a bygone era. 16. Hell in the submarine compartments. When rewatching The Hunt for Red October, I still vividly feel the suffocating sense. The submarine's interior was constructed in such detail that it became haunting. The filmmakers built the submarine's interior on a massive hydraulic system, simulating the rocking and tilting motion when the submarine submerged or surfaced. The faint red light, the sweltering air, the sound of metal creaking. All of this created the genuine sensation of being trapped. Sean Connery once recalled, "Very claustrophobic. 62 people crammed into a tight space, the temperature rising, the floor tilting 45 degrees continuously. I almost got seasick after every long take. The actors had to stay in that compartment for hours, sweating, struggling to breathe, and this discomfort was transferred to the screen." A crew member recalled, "We wanted the audience to feel the fear of being beneath the sea, not through special effects, but through the actors' physical presence." As a result, the scenes in the submarine compartments became so realistic that many viewers in 1990 left the theatre feeling like they had just escaped a nightmare beneath the sea. Looking back today, that hell elevated the film from a simple action movie to a deeply emotional experience. 15. Submarine sickness that made the actors vomit. Filming in the simulated submarine space turned out to be a real ordeal. The hydraulic system constantly rocked the floor, simulating the submarine's deep dives or evasive maneuvers. But for the actors, it felt like being trapped in a giant shaking machine for hours. Many experienced severe seasickness, vomiting immediately after the cut. Alec Baldwin recalled, "I'd never been so seasick in my life. It felt like being truly underwater, my head spinning, my stomach rising. We had to take breaks in between to let everyone recover." Sean Connery and other actors didn't fare any better. The hot air, The limited oxygen combined with the constant movement left their bodies exhausted. An assistant director remembered, "There were days we had to stop 3 times because the actors vomited on the floor." But that discomfort brought an authenticity that couldn't be faked. These submarine illnesses weren't just backstage accidents, but also elements that helped the audience feel the real fear of the sailors beneath the sea. A fear not only from the enemy, but from the harsh environment itself. 14. The ridiculous 2-knob safe, but only used one. There's a small detail that startled many viewers upon rewatch. The safe on the Red October submarine was designed for 2 people to input the code simultaneously. Double security, requiring 2 knobs to turn at the same time to open. This was the military standard during the Cold War to prevent a lone person from acting independently. But Ramius only turned 1 knob and it opened immediately. The code was too simple, like a password from 1984. No need for synchronization, no need for a second person. This detail made many wonder, why would such a careful captain as Ramius leave a safe so easy to open? A fan from that time commented, "When I watched, I thought it was a script oversight. But later, I realized Ramius had already planned everything. He knew he would act alone and the safe was just a tool to assert power. In reality, this detail was not a mistake. It was a subtle sign of Ramius's meticulous planning. He had already removed the element of risk, turning a security system into a tool for his escape plan. Looking back today, that 2-knob safe has become a symbol of the character's cold intelligence. A ridiculous detail, but full of meaning. 13. Burning the orders. Criticised by viewers as unnecessary drama. Do you remember the scene where Ramius takes out the second order, reads it silently, and then burns it right in front of the crew? No one on the ship knew the second order existed. It was a secret between Ramius and his superiors. So why did he burn it in front of everyone in the cramped submarine compartment with the flickering flame reflecting on his stern face? Many viewers in 1990 thought it was just showing off to look cooler. A fan once commented, "No one knew about that piece of paper, so why burn it? Just to show Ramius is decisive." Some even thought it was a script mistake, an unnecessary act to increase the drama. But upon rewatch, that detail carried a deeper meaning. Ramius didn't burn the paper to prove anything to anyone, but to completely sever any possibility of turning back. He had chosen defection, and burning the order was the final declaration. There were no more commands binding him, no traces left behind. Today, the scene of burning the orders is no longer criticised as excessive. It has become a symbol of the character's cold decisiveness, and viewers rewatching it still feel Ramius's loneliness and determination at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean. 12. Sean Connery. Almost rejected playing Captain Marco Ramius. I have always been impressed by the character of Captain Marco Ramius, the calm, powerful Russian captain standing on the bridge of the Red October looking out over the vast Arctic Ocean, then whispering, "Let's go," before ordering a deep dive, or the moment when he silently strangles the political officer, his face devoid of any remorse. These images are etched into the memory of everyone who watched The Hunt for Red October. But few know that Sean Connery almost turned down this role. When he received the script, he read it and immediately thought it was too familiar with the image of the Soviet Union during the Cold War. And after Gorbachev, it seemed outdated. Connery recalled the fax was missing the first page, and I thought the Soviet Union was still strong, so this role didn't seem to matter anymore. But after Paramount sent the full version with revisions, emphasizing the internal conflict and personal conscience rather than ideological conflict, Connery agreed. He brought his signature style, his deep Scottish voice, not imitating a Russian accent. Connery once said, "Imitating a Russian accent would feel forced and lack depth. Keeping my natural accent makes the character more authentic." That decision turned out to be one of his most iconic roles outside of Bond. Ramius was not just a villain or a hero, but a symbol of loyalty to his conscience. 11. The film was hated by the Soviet Union. As soon as The Hunt for Red October was released, the Soviet Union saw the film as a direct propaganda attack against them. The state press at the time harshly criticized it, a crude Hollywood film distorting the image of the Soviet Navy turning a defector officer into a hero. The film was officially banned, with no theaters allowed to screen it. But strangely pirated copies spread throughout Moscow on hand-copied VHS tapes shown in secret gatherings in apartments. A Russian viewer who grew up during that time recalled, "We watched it secretly, and many of us secretly admired Ramius. He wasn't a traitor. He chose his conscience over blind loyalty to the party." That's something many of us dreamed of back then. The more the Soviet press criticized the film, the more it was passed along by word of mouth. It became an underground symbol of dissatisfaction with the system. 10. Building the giant Red October submarine model. A behind-the-scenes technician once recalled, "We built a 30-meter-long model, the largest ever made for a Hollywood film at the time, and we had to pull it through the water tank with steel cables to create a real sense of movement." The Typhoon-class Red October model wasn't just a prop. It had a fake titanium hull detailed, sonar gaps and smoke, and bubbles were manually created to replicate the deep dive or torpedo evasion scenes. There was no CGI at the time. Everything had to be real enough for the water to splash and the light to reflect off the hull, making the audience in 1990 feel like they were witnessing a giant living creature beneath the Arctic Ocean. That very model gave the film an unforgettable grandeur, the scene where the submarine crawls through the Arctic ice or rises to the surface with the screeching sound of metal, all thanks to real physics, not effects. A crew member remembered, "When the model submerged, the entire water tank would shake. That was the moment we knew the film would be special." Thanks to this, the Red October wasn't just a submarine. It became an immortal symbol, making older viewers still feel the thrill as if they were back in the dark theatre. 9. The near misses in casting that caused regret. Few know that the perfect cast of The Hunt for Red October almost changed entirely. Kevin Costner was originally offered the role of Jack Ryan before Alec Baldwin, but his busy schedule caused him to decline, a decision that Costner still regrets to this day. Harrison Ford was also considered for the role of Ryan, but he chose to pursue other projects. As for Captain Marco Ramius, Sam Neill was initially cast to play the defector captain, but he eventually only played Vasily Borodin, Ramius's loyal officer and closest friend. A behind-the-scenes producer recalled Sam Neill was a perfect fit for Ramius, his British accent, calm demeanour. But when Sean Connery came in, the entire crew knew no one else could replace him. Neill later admitted, "I regret not playing Ramius, but the role of Vasily gave me the chance to showcase great internal conflict." That casting history has now become legendary in the film industry. Had Costner or Ford played Ryan, the film might have leaned more toward action. Had Neill played Ramius, the character would have had less authority compared to Connery. Looking back today, we can see how lucky it was that everything fell into place. Those missed opportunities unintentionally created a legendary cast, making the film live on in the hearts of older audiences. 8. The subtle philosophical dialogue. If you pay close attention, you'll notice that the dialogue in The Hunt for Red October was carefully edited to highlight the internal conflict, especially in Ramius. Initially, it closely followed Clancy's novel with dry military language, but the screenplay gradually shifted from cold tactics to a philosophy of conscience and duty. Ramius's question, "What's the meaning of the orders to Borodin?" is not just about the orders, but a question about the meaning of blind loyalty. Or his whisper, "Russians don't take a dump son without a plan," is repeated by Jack Ryan as a clue emphasizing that every action taken by Ramius is part of a well-thought-out plan. This line highlights Ryan's understanding of Ramius's character, meticulous, strategic, and always several steps ahead in his thinking. It serves as a reminder that Ramius, even in his defection, has a clear, calculated purpose behind every decision he makes. A screenwriter said, We changed a lot of dialogue so that Ramius was not just a captain, but a man struggling with himself. This shift in tone helped the film transition from a pure military story to a philosophical work. Loyalty to the nation or to personal conscience? What do you think about this? Feel free to share your thoughts under this video. 7. The filmmakers navigated the submarine canyons. Have you ever wondered how the scene of the Red October weaving through deep submarine canyons at the bottom of the sea feels so tense and realistic? It wasn't just special effects or models. It was directly inspired by actual routes the Soviet Navy used to avoid US sonar during the Cold War. In the film, the moment when Ramius orders the submarine to dive through narrow gaps, jagged rocks appearing under the dim lights, the sound of screeching metal, the giant ship swaying as if about to collide. All of this created a primal fear. A small mistake is enough to get crushed. The filmmakers referenced real topographic maps from public sources combined with advice from US Navy consultants to accurately depict the tilting currents and risks. John McTiernan once said, "We wanted the audience to feel that beneath the sea there's no room for mistakes." Thanks to this, The Hunt for Red October didn't just tell a story of pursuit, it also recreated the real terror of sailors at that time. 6. The movie adaptation, a dangerous gamble. As a fan of the film, I still remember when Paramount announced the adaptation of The Hunt for Red October. Many were skeptical. Submarine films have niche audiences, the Cold War was ending, who would still care about the Red Enemy? Tom Clancy himself was initially doubtful of Hollywood. They'll turn the book into a cheap action movie, losing all the spirit, but the studio made a big bet. They bought the rights, early invested in authentic sets despite the limited budget. After the film was released, Clancy admitted in an interview, "They kept the spirit of the novel. It wasn't just about the chase, it was a story about people and choices." That gamble turned out to be a surprising success, from a niche genre to a blockbuster, paving the way for the future Jack Ryan films. Thanks to that, The Hunt for Red October isn't just the best submarine film, but also proof that sometimes the biggest risks bring the most lasting rewards. 5. The chef appeared too much. One detail that puzzled many viewers back then when rewatching the film was the character Loginov, the Russian cook, appeared far more frequently than expected. He silently walked around the submarine, gazing at Ramius with a puzzled look, then slowly revealed himself as the main saboteur, the one who activated the self-destruct system and tried to thwart the defection plan. Many felt the development of this character was forced. Why does a cook get so much screen time? He's irrelevant but keeps appearing. But it was precisely this excessive presence that made a huge twist from a background figure to a deadly threat, making the audience jump when Loginov faced Ramius with a gun. A behind-the-scenes writer said, "We purposely had him appear often so the audience would get familiar with his face, then hit them with the twist. If he only appeared once, the twist wouldn't have been as strong. As a result, this detail became one of the film's most subtle surprises, proving that sometimes a seemingly insignificant supporting character carries the heaviest weight." 4. The torpedo and missile scene was considered implausible. One detail that still makes me frown when I rewatch The Hunt for Red October is the scene where Ramius orders the submarine to head straight into an incoming torpedo. The idea of charging toward it before it activates seems almost illogical. The missile doesn't activate. Even though it's very close, the Victor submarine appears suddenly without being detected, and no one understands why such a cautious captain like Ramius would take such a risk. Many criticized, "This is ridiculous. The sonar should have detected the Victor submarine from afar and charging at a torpedo just to look heroic." But in reality, this detail was inspired by actual military tactics. Torpedoes need a certain distance to activate, and Ramius calculated precisely to avoid it. A naval consultant on set explained, "We clarified it, but the film kept the tension by leaving some things unsaid, allowing the audience to figure it out on their own." Looking back today, that scene no longer seems implausible. it became the climax of suspense, proving Ramius's genius as a strategist. It's this obviousness that made older audiences feel the tension, as if they were witnessing a life-and-death chess match under the Arctic Sea. 3. The actors were all military veterans. Sean Connery once said in a behind-the-scenes interview, "Military experience helped me understand Ramius, not just act, but live the role." Casting actors with real military backgrounds like Connery Royal Navy, Scott Glenn US Marine Corps, and James Earl Jones. US Army brought immense benefits to the hunt for Red October. They didn't need much direction on gestures, commanding tone, or how to move in tight spaces. Glenn remembered, "I knew how to stay steady when the floor tilted, how to breathe in confined air. That's from real training." This experience created authenticity in the scenes, from how to handle weapons report situations to the tense expressions when the submarine dived deep. A director recalled, "They made the scenes feel real. No fakes, no forced acting. Thanks to that, the audience could clearly feel the fear and discipline of sailors under the sea." Looking back today, the authenticity still stands out, making the film not just entertainment, but almost a living document of military life during the Cold War. 2. Alec Baldwin went from unknown to A-list star. Thanks to Jack Ryan. When The Hunt for Red October was released, Alec Baldwin wasn't a big star. He was just a stage actor known for a few supporting roles. But the role of Jack Ryan changed everything. He wasn't a muscle-bound action hero, but a smart, calm analyst who used his mind to deal with the nuclear threat. At first, Tom Clancy's fans were doubtful Baldwin doesn't have the gravitas to play Ryan, but he proved them wrong by researching deeply about the CIA Cold War politics and even learning how to read intelligence reports. Baldwin said, "I wanted Ryan to be an ordinary man in an extraordinary situation. No guns, just brains." His performance, from the moment he realised Ramius's plan to the tense dialogues, turned Jack Ryan into an iconic character. After the film, Baldwin became an A-list star, paving the way for future Jack Ryan films. Though he left the franchise due to backstage conflicts, that role remains the biggest turning point in his career. Looking back today, we can still feel that Baldwin's humility and intelligence made Jack Ryan a reliable, relatable character for older audiences. 1. Huge box office and Oscar. Win the film. The Hunt for Red October was released in 1990, and at the time, no one expected it to become such a big success. With a budget of just around $30 million, modest compared to the blockbusters of the time, Paramount took a gamble on a niche genre submarine films with the Cold War nearly over. However, when the screen lit up with the image of the Red October submarine crawling beneath the Arctic Ocean, accompanied by Basil Polidoris' epic score, the audience was hooked. The film grossed over $200 million worldwide, an unexpected success, making it one of the most surprising blockbusters of the 90s, more than just box office revenue. The Hunt for Red October also won an Oscar for sound effects editing, confirming its top-tier technical quality. The echoing sonar sounds, the screeching metal, the approaching torpedo, all recreated so realistically that it was haunting. A critic at the time wrote, "This isn't just an action movie. This is an experience beneath the sea." The film wasn't just entertainment, it also made its mark in history, a silent witness to the end of the Cold War era, and proof that sometimes a simple but truthful story can conquer the world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you won't miss our next videos. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next video.